In this video, traders, we're going to look at key takeaways from Paul Tudor Jones, specifically his drawdown. Stay tuned. Hey guys, a very warm welcome to you. Alright, so I recently watched a video between Paul Tudor Jones and Tony Robbins, and if I can find it, I'll get a link to it put in the description below. If I can't, then just Google it, I'm sure it'll pop up. Anyway, Tony Robbins is, I guess he's a kind of a life coach. He's kind of a motivational speaker. That's probably not the correct way of doing it, but if you're familiar with him, you know exactly who he is. If you're not, maybe you can Google him and have a see what he's all about. But anyway, he kind of stands up on stage. He does lots of stuff kind of from a one-to-many thing and transformations, and helps people kind of get more motivated and driven and goals, etc. He also does a lot of stuff with athletes, high-performance business people and leaders. So, you know, he's not just a rah-rah guy on the stage, and of course he's known for that. If you know, he's familiar and he's jumping up and down and getting people in the right state and what have you, but he also actually does one-on-one work with kind of top people in their game. So, you know, he's got some credibility. He's got a lot of credibility to be doing that. Wealthy guy, helped a lot of people. Anyway, Paul Tudor Jones was interviewing Tony Robbins. I was like, what's this all about? I actually found it because I've been watching another interview on this. I think it was a Robin Hood Foundation, which, by the way, Paul Tudor Jones and all the other hedge fund managers, money managers, are doing a great job with that. You know, this philanthropy thing over in the US. You can say, go and check it out if you're interested. But yeah, it was a really good, interesting interview. And Paul Tudor Jones was interviewing Tony Robbins. Like, oh, this is such a bizarre thing. Why? It actually came about when Paul Tudor Jones was in a slump. You know, he was in a trading slump, and he went out and looked for help. You know, he went out there and he's like, listen, I need to seek advice. I need to seek some help here. Not trading. I don't need to learn about more trading. I need to get my mind in the right place. And so he went to Tony Robbins. He's recommended him, blah, 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 and maybe come across him before. And this was the interview, 30-minute interview, talking about this process. So this was super interesting because, listen, guys, even Paul Tudor Jones goes into a slump, and he admitted that when he went to speak to Tony Robbins, that he was going to quit trading. And one of the things he said is that I was ready to quit. You know, I'd made a lot of money. I'd had a great year, or great few years, and I kind of felt like I couldn't achieve that again. I couldn't attain that again, and I was just in this horrible slump. And so he went to Tony Robbins, and Tony Robbins worked with him to get him out of the slump. And of course, he's still chugging along now, and he's doing loads of kind of philanthropy work and all this kind of stuff. So these are some of the takeaways that I got from this video and some of the notes. So after a big year, expect to lose drive. So in other words, after you have a monster year as a trader, expect to feel a little bit like, well, I've achieved a lot there. How can I top it again? How can I kind of push on? And, you know, this was kind of the trigger for him going to seeking this help. But, you know, that's interesting because even if we don't say from a year, even if we've had a big quarter, if we can't really sustain that, do we feel a little bit frustrated? Do we feel a little bit sad that we kind of can't fulfill and have that same buzz, if you like, of making that much money? That's something to think about. You know, if you're having that success, then be aware that, you know, there'll be times when afterwards when you're not going to have to be able to sustain that forever, and accept that it doesn't, you know, comes in kind of peaks and troughs. And even, you know, someone like Paul Tudor Jones being able to say that and accept that. So number two, seek help when in a slump. Now, this is interesting as well because, you know, it shows that even the top level players in whatever industry you're in, athletes or even, you know, money management world like Paul Tudor Jones, he recognized he needed external help. He can't do it on his own. Someone like him, super wealthy, super successful, running money, top of the game, even he was like, listen, I need some help with this. I need to find somebody to help this thing. So he went and found somebody to help him with this thing. And I would assume he's done that throughout all of his career. This was specifically about that moment in his life, but I'm assuming he's gone and found help with specific trading things, with this, with that, the other, to help him get to the level he's going to be. So that's a big takeaway, guys. Don't be afraid to seek help, whatever form that's in, not even when you're in a slump, but all through the trading process. Number three, leverage on the state that made you the most successful. So when you're in the slump, maybe not necessarily even the slump, in normal circumstances, he leveraged on the state that made him made him feel like most alive, his body state. And that was, he was in the pit, and this was years ago when he was in the pit, and he used to say, take him, because he used to know that if he lifted that offer in the pit, the market would fly. And he kind of did it when he was sitting down. He could see his energy. And part of the thing he'd done is create a checklist we'll get to in a moment, but one of the things he'd said was, you know, Operation Take Them or something like that. And basically, again, it's triggering the mind to think, right, I'm pushing forward, I'm moving forward, get me out of this slump, let's go. So he was taking himself back I'm probably butchering this, guys, go and check out the video, but this is kind of a summary. He was taking himself back to that feeling and that mindset and that emotional state, and something to think about for trading. You know, if you feel like you're in a bit of a slump, you're not really getting there, take yourself back to a point where you're just smashing it, where trades are just working great, you're making money, it's really working for you, and try and recreate that mindset, recreate that emotional state so that you're on the front foot. Number 4, create a checklist that you use before each trade. So obviously he was not day trading, but he had a checklist before each trade. He kind of showed the camera what it was, and it was kind of a 10-step thing. And some of the things were related, obviously, to his strategy and the way he approached stuff. But some of the things on there, guys, was stuff that we can definitely have in our trading, swing trading, day trading. You know, and literally, you know, Tony Robbins was saying, and something that I've kind of mentioned before on the channel, is that, you know, even pilots who have been flying for thousands and thousands of hours still go through a manual checklist with the co-pilot before they take off. So it's something that's it's not a thing where you're pushing yourself down in kind of a level of experience by using a checklist. Even the very, very top performers do it. And Paul Tudor Jones had this checklist. And one of the things on the checklist, some of the things on the checklist were only use a 3-to-1 or 5-to-1 risk-reward ratio. So he was starting to take trades, weren't quite fitting that criteria, but he recognised that on his best performance, he was taking 3-to-1 risk-reward ratio, 5-to-1 risk-reward ratio, getting that asymmetrical risk-reward so that he could be wrong. And it's something he's talked about before, and I've done kind of videos on Paul Tudor Jones before, and something he's definitely said in his books. So it's interesting to see that he actually tried to push back to that and made sure he was taking that. Another thing on his checklist was the hard trades are the best trades. So he's saying, is this the hard trade? Is this the hard trade? Now, I believe he had his team asking him these questions, so he was forced to kind of reply and kind of think things through. But he said that, hey, the hard trades are the best. Now, that's very often the case, right? You know, you're buying into a flush, you're trying to buy that flush. It feels like a little bit like stepping in front of a train, but if everything is right, then you need to pull the trigger on it, because it's the best trade, because the pop you get off the flush is a good cushion ready for the kind of maybe prevailing uptrend. So, you know, that's something to think about. Maybe not literally taking this to heart, but understanding there's some commonality and theme throughout your best trades. And this number 7, guys, keep on top of diet, health, weight. Literally, that was on his checklist. Honestly, it was on his checklist. Now, obviously, because he's trading on a longer term basis, but things that he had on it, you know, check your diet. How's your diet? How's your weight? How's your health? So in other words, not making multi-million, if not billion-dollar decisions when you've been eating crap, when, you know, you're feeling overweight, you've put on extra weight, your health's not great, you've not been hitting the gym. And it's so interesting. He didn't really go much into that, but it's so interesting. If it's made the checklist, he obviously is aware that this is the kind of thing that is affecting his performance. And we've said this loads, guys. You've said it, I've said it, you see it in books. We can't ignore it. The health aspect is a big aspect. And to me, if Paul Tudor Jones and Tony Robbins have worked together and this is on their checklist, and he said, listen, health, diet, you know, weight, fitness, all these kind of things, if they're on their checklist, then they should be on ours, guys, making sure that we have everything aligned in terms of health and diet and fitness and whatever it may be. So I thought that was super interesting. If I can find it, I will stick a link to the description in the description below. If I can't, then, you know, if you're interested, go and Google it. I'm sure it will come up. But super, super useful nuggets of information. Paul Tudor Jones, even he has drawdown, struggles with things. Yes, the order of magnitude is a lot different to us, but it's still interesting. We're still all human beings, and the process is still the same. And what separates, you know, winning traders, guys, the guys who are at the very top of their game, is this ability to bounce back. He admitted he was in a slump, he was going to quit. He bounced back. Yes, he sought help. Yes, he paid a lot of money, I would expect, to work with Tony Robbins. But the point is, he went there, he put in the effort himself, put in the effort, and ground back to where he was, and he was back on the form. Interesting, great, super story. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this one. A little bit different. If you did, thumbs up, appreciated. Take care. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.